Hello, this is David Gordon-Koch reporting for the NB Media Co-op from Moncton on Thursday evening, just hours before postal workers are expected to begin strike action across the country. Earlier this evening, I spoke to Shawn Oldenburg, president of the Fredericton Oromocto local of the Canadian Union of Postal Workers, or CUPW. He's been a letter carrier for over 30 years. By early evening, he did not know what to expect, but was hoping that the union would present a counteroffer to Canada Post. Earlier this week, the Crown Corporation made an offer to the union, but when CUPW asked for a 2-week truce to review that offer, Canada Post refused. Canada Post operates on revenues from its products and services, not on taxpayer dollars. But earlier this year, the feds announced that it would receive a $1 billion repayable loan to avoid insolvency, as it faces a dire financial situation. Oldenburg told me that workers don't want to strike and that they're willing to adapt to a changing business, but that some of Canada Post's policies are putting their health and safety at risk, an aspect of this labor conflict that gets little attention in the mainstream media. He also responded to a recent report by the Industrial Inquiry Commission, led by Commissioner William Kaplan. That report called for major changes, including the phasing out of daily door-to-door residential mail delivery. The report also said that Canada Post should be allowed to close rural post offices and that it must have the flexibility to hire part-time employees for tasks like weekend parcel delivery, among other changes to collective agreements. The union local president rejected those recommendations and called for support from Canadians in protecting postal services. We go now to that interview. I asked Oldenburg what the biggest issue in this labor conflict is for him.
Personally, I've been a letter carrier an awful long time, and what they are proposing is they're saying adaptation to the current situation we're in, but what they're not addressing is the health and safety of any member. And the union CUPW is all for adapting. You have to pivot if you run a business, but the way they want to go about it is putting our members at risk, making their days longer, and really they've put these suggestions forward in their recent proposal, which Canada Post was quick to issue that to the public, all the highlights of it. But in my 33 years, that's the game. You got to look over there, what they're not talking about. So they sneak things in. So what they're doing essentially will be making your day longer for work based on the work they've created. They've built our walks on their requirements that the union never wanted years ago, and that's your 8 hours. So they've got that. Yes, volumes are down, but even if volumes are down, you're still walking your whole walk. You might not be going to every house, but on my walk, for example, I might miss a few houses in a day. That's a good day. But otherwise, you still have to walk your full 20 to 25, and some walks even upwards of that kilometers. So they want us to come back and, oh, you finished 2 hours early. Mm-hmm. You can go deliver 2 hours on another walk.
I think that what you're talking about here is described in this Industrial Inquiry Commission report by the lawyer Kaplan. He talks about it in terms of trapped time, that the union has created a situation, or that previous agreements have created a situation where if someone is done early, they can't be assigned other work, and this creates trapped time. What's your take on that?
You can look at it that way, absolutely. As an outsider looking in, yes, Canada Post wanted this model for our work. They fought for this to be this way. And if they don't like it now, well, that's what you've created. And what it does essentially is allow them, let's say you have a walk that might have lesser volumes over the course of time. You can always do this other walk, a part of it. So that eliminates jobs. So what we've always said, we don't want to lose jobs. We want the work. Let's make it work for everybody.
And I take it what you're saying also is that the strain, physical strain, would be increased, obviously by completing your route and then having to go continue in another route. Correct.
Absolutely. The letter carrier mentality is get it done. And it's very tiring. Some days are good days. Some days make you second guess your life choices because they're horrible. And then if you come back to work and they're sending you back out again on a walk you don't know, and it's a health and safety thing, kind of exactly split down the middle. It's a health thing because you're wearing yourself out for the next day. Safety thing, you don't know necessarily where the dogs are, what the hazards might be, and they're not allowing for any time for you to educate. It's not just, we'll give you this mail, go get rid of it. It's a lot more than that as a letter carrier who's out on the street. Even if you finish early, once you get back, you have to collate your flyers for the following day. And yeah, I would say most people don't finish early. Some do, but not substantial. And some people are well over the hours with the SSD process that they've put in.
Can you explain that for most probably listeners or viewers, readers probably don't know what SSD is. Can you explain?
Okay, SSD is separate sort and delivery. Basically, what happens for us, I'm in Fredericton. So the letter mail that comes from St. John, if we were an SSD office, would come in sorted for my walk, and a clerk would then sort it specifically in my walk and bundle it in a way that I could deliver it. So that way you're eliminating the sorting jobs. But what they want you to do is carry mail in both hands in order to do this and increase the length of your walk. Because they're saying, okay, we're going to take your 2 hours from sorting, put you on the street.
Right.
So they've increased your workload, made your route longer because you've lost the 2 hours to sort. And it makes for very long days, and it's not a fluid thing for them to do because it's not safe, for one, but health and safety, as you've seen on the news, never comes up. And that's really the biggest thing. The highlight is the wage increase. That's not our sticking point. That's not a sticking point. Let's get to the meat.
That's interesting because it seems like I think that on CBC today I heard that wages were a major sticking point in these kind of brief wrap summaries that reporters do. I think they said.
Yeah, it's we propose wage increases, and they've come back. What's the number? It's 15.35 or 13.
13 for over 4 years. I thought.
Yeah, and that's
I heard.
that right, and that's the highlight of the news, right? That's what they focus on. Now, keep in mind, Our contract's 2 years old. We have 2 more years. If this contract comes to fruition, it expires in 2 years. So basically, they're just going back and bringing us up to speed with less than what we asked for, but you have to negotiate this stuff. But they just present it and almost force us with this recent proposal to take it because they're giving no time to decide, no educated response to it, really. Like, you would really have to go through these contract offers carefully before you can even respond.
Yeah, and that's an interesting point because the union did ask for a 2 week truce in which this all this technical language, legalese, and jargon could be reviewed, and the Canada Post refused,
Right.
which surprised me. What's your take on that?
Honestly, it surprised a lot of us, um, because let's face it, our negotiating committee, which our members elect, they are members of our union. They're from our work floor. They're elected to do this. They make what we make, however many years they've been there. Canada Post, however, doesn't elect who they send. They have people who make decent amount of money, and they have been working on, let's say, 6 or 7 scenarios for the past 2 years. Legally correct, legally scrutinized, and they'll pick option 1 at this point, option 3 at this point. So all of a sudden they've brought this one and they expect us to respond. Well, nobody could really. We have lawyers to go through the lawyer wording, and you have to because they do. So basically, the 2 weeks was basically, let's relax, and you've given us this, give us time to look at it and present it. Don't put us under the gun. And to me, it's consistent with how they've been behaving the whole negotiations. They just keep bullying, walking away. They seem not interested in negotiating.
And, am I right in assuming that, going back to the SSD process for a second, that the union wants that abolished or scrapped altogether?
Uh, it's not safe the way it is, and it's overburdening, and it's wearing people out. And yeah, it's not, you cannot, we have 3 points of contact as a letter carrier when walking upstairs. 2 feet and an arm. Well, you still got your 2 feet, but you've lost both your arms because they have mail in.
I know that we're short on time. You're about to go into another meeting, I think.
Yeah.
And I don't want to ask you to solve the financial woes of the corporation. But clearly, there is this massive financial pressure at this moment, and I'm wondering, do you think that this is setting up the corporation for privatization?
I certainly don't think they're trying to succeed in whatever it is we think they should accomplish. We are a public service. That's what our job is, right? When they start putting profits over service, well, that's a business model problem, which I get. They're now talking about it. However, they could have addressed this before. We're not taxpayer funded. We're funded by you going to buy stamps. Yet, if you look at other areas of, say, the RCMP, for example, do they make money? I don't know. Is it public knowledge? I don't know. Who pays them? Your tax dollars. And yet nobody talks about it.
As you probably know, the commissioner called for an end to the moratoriums on rural post office closures and on community mailbox conversions. I think that there's talk about reduction, basically end of daily service as well, daily residential service. So, yeah, your thoughts on this on these proposals of reduced service?
Well, reduced public service, I don't think is ever a good idea. But again, it comes down to the basic uh, fundamentals that pivot properly and with the least amount of impact on the public and everybody involved. You have to adjust to the times, and Canada Post doesn't seem to want to adjust. They just make abrupt changes when it seems too late.
Kaplan writes, the commissioner writes here, bargaining largely failed because one party, CUPW, is defending business as usual. What, what would you say to that?
All I can say is no, that's wrong.
It says here, there is no future for Canada Post if it cannot make use of part-time employees to meet its needs during the week and on weekends based on volume. CUPW is correct that many workers prefer full-time jobs and their associated benefits, but that is not a universal rule. And it goes on to say that some people want part-time work. What do you think about this proposal to, I guess, basically expand part-time work?
Basically, I can say the whole Kaplan report, anybody can read that and wonder if CUPW was even listened to. It went on to just give Canada Post what they were asking. Creation of part-time jobs. I don't know of anybody who's going out actively looking for a part-time job to support their family or to buy a house or to start their life moving forward. We want a contract. We want to negotiate it. We don't want to go on strike. Who wants to go on strike and be without pay? No, we want to negotiate. But if the people we are negotiating with walk away from the table, I think 3 times, how you can't deal with that. And it's very hard. And we're trying to deliver for Canadians. And we just need them to work with us to allow to do that as best we can, whatever society requires for us to do. We have to fulfill that need. We are a public service ultimately. Just so everybody knows, we don't want to strike. We do not. That's why they gave a 2-week pause. They don't want the 2-week pause. I don't know why. Nobody knows why. And I'll be on 3 different screens tonight and 2 different apps on my phone right until the morning to see if there's any updates, because nobody knows who's going to do what at this point.
Okay, well, I've been speaking to Shawn Oldenburg, president of Local 054 of CUPW, Fredericton or Moncton. Thanks for speaking to the NB Media Co-op today.
Thank you very much. Good to speak with you.